going.
Alright, so we're just going to show you how to properly put on and take off a mallet splint. So before you take your splint off, you can take a shower or wash your hand with the splint on and get all of your supplies set. So you get your hair dryer ready and plugged in, you get your tape roll set, and you want to go ahead and peel off a piece of tape. And then just recommend rolling one end over and sticking it down on the table so that it's ready to go. So then you can go ahead and wash your hands with the splint on. And then I just recommend leaving the water on lightly. It's important when you take the splint off that your tip stays as straight as possible. So once you remove your splint, just try to hold the splint on the top of your finger so that the fingertip doesn't bend. And then you just set it down on the table, and then you just slide the splint off while that finger stays straight. And then just to get the remaining soap out of that finger, you can hold that tip into extension, rinse it off, and then you can put it back down. You can then just take your splint if it's dirty and rinse that off as well. And then just take your towel, you can dry your hand, and then what I usually do to dry the hand is just dab it on the towel, wipe it off, like so. Okay? And then you can go ahead and dry your splint as well. And then, in order to get everything nice and dry, this is where we have you use your hair dryer. You can turn the hair dryer on and just dry the splint. And then you can also make sure that your finger is nice and dry and well. You can also just set the hair dryer down and with the bottom of your finger as well while you hold it into full extension so everything is nice and dry. Alright. And then to put your splint back on, you want to keep that finger nice and flat again, so you rest your splint down and then you just slide it in, keeping that on. Sometimes you can go inside the splint to lift with your other finger until that splint comes all the way on. And it's important that the splint comes all the way up to the tip of the finger, like so. You also want to keep your nail trimmed short because otherwise your nail will keep it from coming all the way to the top of the splint. So at this point I'm holding it nice and flat. You bring it over to the tape and you just rest it down on the tape like so. Keeping your finger nice and flat, and then you can lift it off the table as you connect the tape. And at that point you just make sure your finger is nice and flat and all the way up to the top, and wrapping it like so. You want to leave the crease of the finger free, and you want your finger to be in full extension, if not even some hyper extension, like so. So sometimes you can be in between sizes on the splint, or if your swelling comes down, your splint will be loose fitting, as it is here in my small finger. And what ends up happening, as you can see, is the tip of the finger is not held into full extension. Okay? So we're going to take a roll of gauze, and we're going to cut a small piece to wrap around our finger, and then a small piece of tape that you will just put onto the edge of the gauze, and then you go ahead and just turn that so that the sticky side of the tape is up. So you're going to go ahead and remove your splint again, keeping that finger nice and flat, and then you're going to lift it up. And you want to get the tape just below the nail, or just at the nail. And then you can slide your finger on the edge of a counter so that it stays nice and straight. And then you can just wrap it around. And then you can lift that finger up, holding it flat, and then the same idea with the splint. You're going to slide that finger in like so. And now there's a nice snug fit to the fingertip. And then you're going to go ahead and put your tape on. And then again, you want to make sure that it's nice and flat. Against your skin like so. And now the finger's held into much better extension and the splint is not loose.